Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. I'm your host Manoj Agarwal and I'm excited to be having this conversation with Khalid Saleem. So Khalid is a world-known innovation influencer driving and facilitating strategic decision making for the board of directors and executives of multi-million corporations. Khalif is Chief Digital Officer, SVP at TBC Corporation, overseeing digital transformation across a $5 billion portfolio of the tire and automotive services for B2C and B2B channels. Khalid has been crafting digital product roadmaps, architecting innovative digital platforms and solutions, fueling omnichannel growth and digital transformation, generating over $4 billion in annual sales revenue at the Office Depot. Khalid implemented and established cloud-based, robust, and scalable platforms for online copy and print businesses, expanding them across B2B channels, enabling an enhanced customer experience and generating over 30% year-over-year sales growth while reducing the development and support costs by as much as 40%. Khalid also is responsible for facilitating the development of Office Depot mobile apps across B2B and B2C channels, driving mobile app store ratings to 4.5 stars on Apple and 4.4 stars on Google Play, along with achieving 100% year over year growth for app downloads to 1 million devices. Alongside these, Khalid has also served as a technical expert and liaison for the digital marketing team, recommending building technology solutions practices that help improve SEO and increase return on advertising spend. So, welcome, Khalid.
Thank you very much, Manoj, and thank you very much for the kind and humble words. Really honored. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, you've done so much and you have achieved so much. I would love to understand a little bit of your history, your backstory. How did you get to this level of success? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a long story. I mean, I would rather keep it short, but yes, it's all started back. I come from Pakistan, so I was born and brought up in Pakistan, and always been into sports. And one day, my dad, he had friends who were in computers, and he decides that he would buy me a computer, and so he gets me a computer. And of course, as any other kid, my first attempt at that was playing games.
Yeah.
A lot of time playing games and all that until one day. Those were the times when we had those 5 1/4 floppies, and you would basically put those in and run a game first. Put the DOS disk in, and then put the game disk in to be able to run something. And one day I realized, well, I could probably run another or install another game on one of the floppies that was running DOS.
Yeah.
So I erased the whole thing, and guess what? The computer would not start. And I'm thinking, what did I do? I just copied files, right? In my mind, I'm like, I didn't know anything. I was probably 10, 11 years old. And then I realized when we took the computer to one of the nearby, shop, they started explaining to me why and what happened. And that basically piqued my interest. And then from that point onwards, I mean, always inspired by technology and computers. And, I started back with computer software engineering as my degree and went into NC State to pursue computer science. And then from there onwards, I mean, went into PhD program for computer science. Did not get a chance to finish it because I went into the professional world before I got a chance to finish it. And started off with Office Depot as a developer. And then that journey is all behind me. But if I were to look at one key aspect of what basically got me interested into technology was a long time back when my dad got me that computer, which basically just had me at awe. I mean, we used to play Atari and other games, don't get me wrong, but that computer, that piece, that monitor, and that little CPU that was basically being run by a floppy drive just basically inspired me. And that's where it all began.
That's awesome. No, I remember I had similar experiences when I was starting in computers. And I mean, I remember those 1.4-inch floppy disks and everything. All right, so that's awesome. Now, with your time at Office Depot, you were instrumental in bringing the apps to the App Store and everything. So, what were some of the key challenges you faced during that time? I think mobile apps were sort of new at that time, or Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So yes, at Office Depot, actually, no, the apps weren't deployed well before my time, and when I say well before me taking over the app, so I won't take credit for me deploying the apps into the app stores or all that. There were a few folks who actually pioneered that, and Office Depot was definitely among the first to create a mobile app, especially in the Apple App Store. And then as time went along, I mean, everybody got onto that bandwagon, and then you had a plethora of apps all across the board. When I took over the app platforms, what we used to do is we used to have multiple technologies that we built. So you would use, either native, Objective C, or you would use Swift to build the iOS apps, and then on Android side, you will use Android Studio and all those things to build Android apps. And it was very inefficient for me in my perspective. And then also, when we were deploying at much faster scale on the desktop and the mobile side, we were not able to actually deploy the same pace on the mobile app side, because now you had to manage multiple platforms, and the team size was small too. So what we started doing was we started looking into making it more efficient, and we picked up React Native. And many analysts that we interviewed, actually, they say that's a foolish move, that you are going to a hybrid platform. That is 2017, actually. And we were like, no, we have to do it because we have to be efficient. And I couldn't see, as being a developer, I could not see a developer struggling or pulling his hair out or her hair out, trying to figure out, now I have to build it again for the other one, or I need to tell somebody else to do this.
Sure.
So we basically leveraged React Native and went along that path. What we were able to achieve was about 85% code, to be the same across the two platforms. So 85% of the time, developers were building one time and reusing across the two. Now, there are, of course, native nuances, native differences, native libraries, how you compile them are different, but that is one time, right? One time deal. After that, everything is pretty much the same. So 85 to 86% of the code base were exactly the same. And the team that used to be basically the laggards in deploying the mobile applications, they become the fastest. Anything that we were trying to launch, actually, they were the first one to deploy, because they were so nimble and they were so efficient. They could deploy and finish their changes in a matter of days, in a matter of weeks versus months.
Nice.
And with that pivot, a partner of mine, a colleague of mine who was in the product side, he joined the team, and we partnered to actually revamp the code, completely revamp the whole infrastructure with that React Native. But on top of that, basically redesign the look and feel of the app, because our goal was, let's bring in with the new value of the platform that brings in the customer experience at the palm of your hand, makes sure that for loyalty, this becomes your best companion, best buddy. And started building enhancements, experiences that basically were focused on driving the overall ratings of the apps. So it used to be. So with that, what we did is we first launched the new platform, and then behind the scenes, we started building or enhancing the customer experience on a sprint by sprint basis. Right. So every 2 sprints, every 2 weeks, we would basically deploy new enhancement, new features. We did not go gung-ho. We were intentionally incremental, because many times you make a change, across the board, everything has been changed, and customers are like, what the hell has happened? Here, we went intentionally incremental. A page, 2 pages, 3 pages, 3 features, 4 features, which gave customers a feel of new things are coming in, and they were able to see it. They are able to leverage them more often before what they used to do in the past. And those are the key features which basically helped us get our ratings from a 3.4 to 3.5 stars that were accumulated over the last 6-7 years to like 4.5 to 4.6 stars in a matter of 6 months. Wow. So because we focused on customer experience, we engaged with the feedback. A few of our team members would actually respond to every single feedback that would come in daily. So we became anal basically about customer experience, and we ensured that if any customer complaint comes in, we tackle it, address it, and we went back to the customer. So many times what happened is a 1-star rating converted into a 5-star rating because we went back to the customer.
Nice. That was great. That's great. I was going to ask a follow-up question exactly about ratings, because a lot of entrepreneurs, they have mobile apps for their businesses, and the key thing is ratings, because if the rating is low, even if the app is good, people generally just don't download it. So that's great. Focusing on user experience and And I really like the idea of building it incrementally, because a lot of people, they just go all in thinking that their idea is the best idea, whereas the public may not really, you
Mhm.
know, agree with that. So your approach is uh, very well implemented. So
Thank you.
now, going from, you did work on B2B side and B2C side. uh, Again, many corporations have either a singular focus like B2B or B2C. How did you manage to balance the emphasis on these two different segments of the business?
It's a great question, Manoj. I think I give credit actually back to one of my managers at that time who basically saw that, okay, I can go into the managerial role. And because I started as a developer in B2B space, so my mind was purely tuned towards how a B2B customer works. And I would partner with the business analysts, the business leaders, the business VPs, make sure that we can build experiences that are completely in line with the expectations of the B2B customers, because those varied, especially in 2008, 2009 versus what a B2C customer was looking for. And that at that point in time, when with my mindset towards ensuring that the technology does not lead the customer experience drives the technology, the manager saw something in me and she was like, okay, you should become a manager, right? And she started basically pushing it in some things under me because of the things that she saw. And then eventually the other leaders, they saw some opportunity in growth and career standpoint, and they saw that, yes, I can potentially handle that. So my mind always started from the B2B side, right? So when I got into B2C, it was, for me, it was more of a understanding how I operate normally, right? So it was not that hard versus others who go from B2C to B2B. You're going from your personal experience or the customer's experience in the B2C side to B2B, and you're like, why people do it this way? So to me, it became very natural to adopt B2C, because I'm like, oh yeah, that's how I shop, or that's how my family members shop, or that's how my friends shop. Whereas in the B2B side, I had to learn, and that learning was as a developer, which I saw every single minute detail, because we would interact with our customers, we would talk to them, we would understand the nuances, the challenges that they are facing, and the pieces that we would build in collaboration with the product team or the business analyst or the marketing guys would be exactly what they're wanting, right? So the perspective was completely different, because you're hand holding a customer versus in B2C case, you're testing things out, or you have a customer who provided you feedback. You should be really grateful that they provided you that feedback, and now you can basically implement something that satisfies them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for me, it was really helpful, that background, that I started off in B2B first, because switching to B2C was relatively easier, in my opinion, in that case.
I see. That's great. And so, e-commerce has taken a huge leap forward in 2020. And since you are a veteran of, this field, I like, how do you see, in the long term, e-commerce is going to affect our lives? Do you see that we are going to see more innovations, more sort of different ways of conducting business online? What do you see in the future, as especially after 2020, like, whatever has happened in 2020?
Right. Yeah. So, well, if anybody had any doubts about e-commerce, I mean, those should be shunned completely by now.
Yeah,
It is here to say, in fact, it is here to define what the future looks like.
yeah.
There are a few things that will happen. The adoption of voice as voice native platforms is going to be different, because you can imagine, the Alexas, the Google Homes of the world, and other devices. They have done their job, but they're primarily used for, okay, play me a song or tell me what the weather is like, and so on and so forth, right?
Mhm.
E-commerce and m-commerce is going to shift into a more of a pattern based, demand based, or a recommendation or subscription based model. More and more it's going to be doing that. And with our devices, with our mobile devices that we carry in our hands and use it basically almost 24/7 nowadays, this is going to be very personalized. So the companies who will win in the e-commerce space will be who can personalize the experience to the point that the customer actually is wanting that specific, whatever they're looking for. Talk about even shows, right? Talk about even if I'm watching a movie on Netflix or Amazon Prime or HBO Max, whatever I'm doing, they're looking at understanding my watching patterns, and they are describing or recommending to me what show I should watch. Similar to that, now they're seeing on my mobile device, I probably search for nearby store for a specific, let's say cars as an example, search for entire installation near me. And then when I'm online on my laptop, they can tie back the same data to be able to say, oh, you know what, Khalid searched for this tire, show him this tire back on the website now. So the companies who will do great will be the ones who can tie these data together across all these devices that we have today. And many companies are already doing that. We are also embarking upon, and we are also have been investing into this space because we see a lot of value what personalization can bring you. Yes, there will always be nuances because sometimes you may be personalizing something which, let's say, Manoj has already bought. Yes, get that. There will be a time, it's not that far, where you will be able to predict what Manoj is going to buy and not worry about what he has already bought because your data will be so great. That's where true AI will come into play. Right now, we are still leveraging machine learning to understand the descriptive nature of what he or she may have done from a customer standpoint and then apply it. So e-commerce is here to stay. In fact, the overall ecosystem will rely more and more about technology, more and more on technology, and mobile is going to be at the forefront of that. Now, it may change that they may start connecting it with your mind. Your brain may start thinking it and maybe placing orders through the mobile device that you carry or the watch that you may have, or just through voice. The patterns may shift, but e-commerce is going to change the world completely, continuing forward as they're doing it today.
Awesome. So it sounds like the role of AI will become even greater in this world. At the same time, there'll be more concerns about security and privacy. So these, obviously AI, we can talk about that later. What are your concerns about privacy and security? Because here is what I notice, especially being a person from technology background, understanding security. What I find is typically executives, decision makers, CEOs in the boardroom, they don't really have a very good idea about what security means, but they use it as a weapon to either forward their agenda. No, it needs to be secure, or stop something from happening. Oh, no, we cannot do that because it needs to be secure. What is your take on that?
So I'll take these two and separately. So security and privacy, I think in my mind they're two separate things, by the way.
Sure, yeah, of course.
However, I'll take privacy first. So privacy, I think it is very subjective. Okay, when I say subjective in the mind of consumer,
exactly,
not in the mind of the business owner or business, or a business, in the mind of a customer, and it varies. And think about, and that's why I want to repeat, think about the generation that is going to be coming into the business in the next 3, 4, 5, 7 years. They are the kids who are graduating from college, or they are going to be graduating from high school now, going into college. Look at their perception of privacy. And that is the definition of what privacy is going to be in the near future. Yes, there will be scenarios where people would like certain things that they do, they want to be private and not openly available in public. But with the exposition of social media, privacy is going to become very limited in terms of what it entails. Maybe I would say, it could very well become to be, if it is if it's a restaurant, don't capture my information, right? It may go down and it will very well go down to that level, because I don't care if I'm in the middle of a concert and somebody is basically, live streaming it and I'm part of it, or I'm doing it vice versa. Nobody cares, right? So those things are going to become very subjective based off of what consumer demands and consumer patterns and shifts are. And I believe it go down to a point where, similar to the California law that was passed, they give you the ability now. They in fact ask you the ability to, you want to disable X amount of cookies, or you want to disable everything, right? So that is just the beginning. It's going to become very it's going to be very fine-grained. It's going to be very much along the lines of, okay, you want yourself to be tracked if you're at a dining location, and you don't want yourself to be tracked when you're driving, right? And vice versa. And Google is already actually doing some of this in their devices, and Apple is also doing that. So this is exactly where privacy is going to go. The privacy concept that we have today is everything that I do is private is going to change. And frankly, if you ask me, I don't really care what Google knows about me as long as it does not look into what is in my bank account or what is happening with my family personally, right? Those are the things that you care about. You don't care if it knows what am I browsing. I don't care. As long as you're not doing something bad, you're fine with it. So that perception will change, and that will become the norm with the new generation that's coming out. The kids, but frankly speaking, all they care is if their parents know about what they're doing or not.
Yes.
It is going to completely go down that path. So that's where the privacy piece stands. Security, I think it is going to be very integral going forward, as well as it's today. More and more attacks and hacks are happening on a daily basis, right? And as we go down to this as we go down of this privacy concept, you will have to ensure that, for example, if Khalid has marked that yes, his escapades across restaurants should not be captured, we need to first of all ensure that either the device goes into a specific mode that it's not being captured, or if it is being captured, it could be deleted right away. Or even if it is being captured, it is kept in some sort of an encrypted format that nobody can access or nobody can understand what it is, right? So security comes into every single piece of those three situations that I spoke about. That will continue to be important. Security will continue to play an important role because banking, more and more people are going to be doing online banking only. It's even the people who were not doing it before, because of this pandemic, have shifted completely. My father-in-law, who barely used online banking, now is completely using online banking. So you can imagine the pattern shifts and how people are shifting towards. So security will be very important no matter where we land. The concept of privacy is going to be different, versus security is going to continue to be important, because you have to keep yourself secure from bad, or malicious people, as well as attackers that are norm these days.
That's
and yes, to your point that you mentioned, that sometimes at the executive level we use that as an excuse. I think the best way to approach is, when you are building a concept or a model, you bring in both the perspective to say, yes, this will be either secure, and if it cannot be secure, let us do a pilot that basically tests this out, right? Privacy is always important, but you can say, let us, as long as there are no legal implications, let us do a pilot and test it out with a smaller market or smaller customer segment to see what they believe. And that lines very well with, what Bezos says, or he believes in, is disagree but commit. Because at executive level, you can always have a disagreement about an idea. But you're not at the ground level. So commit with the team and say, okay, go with it and bring me back the proof that you can do great. And if you do great, guess what? I was wrong and the company did awesome. And if you did not do well, we learned something good.
That's awesome. That's great. No, I bring up that point just because it's an esoteric topic, and it becomes, in many debates, this security and privacy has become like a central point. Even if we talk about if we listen to the news, there's a lot of chatter about security and privacy. I laugh because the same people who are concerned about privacy, they have no qualms about using free Wi-Fi at Starbucks or at the airport, not knowing that their entire data is being collected by somebody. So it's a matter of convenience right now. But anyway, moving on. So you mentioned personalization in e-commerce, and absolutely agree that this trend started by giants like Amazon and others to really understand the customer and customize the experience for them is helpful in selling. But what about the small entrepreneurs, startups, or people who do not have the expertise, who do not have the infrastructure or the investment to implement these complex systems to personalize that? Where do they go? What advice do you have for them?
So Manoj, and it's already happening. I mean, the Shopify's, the Big C's, the platforms of the world are already allowing the small businesses to go online really quickly. And they have They have plugins, they have partners, they have capabilities that are available to have these small and medium-sized businesses launch at a scale which, if they were to just do it themselves or build it themselves, will take them ages, right? They have tools already out there. My recommendation to anyone who's looking into building something from scratch is, instead of start building something from scratch, if you are just trying to sell something, right? If you're building a platform, that's a different story. But if you're trying to just sell a product that whether you're acquiring from somewhere else, let's say shipping over from China, India, Pakistan, wherever it is, or you're basically building in the US and trying to sell it, you can launch with one of these platforms very simply, very easily. And the best part with these platforms these days is they integrate straight into Amazon and other marketplaces. So not only you basically get the ability to drive customers to your own website with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 clicks, you can publish the same product to these marketplaces. So you would expand. In the past, where I would create a website and now I'm waiting for customers to come to me, spend paid search money, spend a lot of marketing dollars trying to get customers to me, I can launch my product and then push it into Amazon and other places where that can be easily accessible by the customers, right? So as a small business owner, the technology has enabled me to basically reach a much bigger audience that I had access to before. You just need to partner with the right folks. I mean, even Square, even BigCommerce, Shopify, all of these platforms allow you to do so. So if you're trying to build something from scratch, don't forget what these platforms offer and go incremental. Build it as a start. See what it does for you. And then as it starts ramping up, and if you don't think that it provides you the right tools and the capabilities, then pivot into building something of your own. Because yes, to your point, personalization algorithm for my specific kind of product may be completely different than what Shopify may be offering or BigCommerce may be offering or the likes of other platforms may be offering. But until I know that I have customer base, what is the point of building something when I'm going to invest 2 years and somebody else is going to come up with it? Exactly. So focus, build incrementally, launch your business, launch your product, get your product out, and then start behind the scenes, build an infrastructure. Even if you think about Amazon, I mean, they did not have everything built. I mean, they built everything in bits and pieces. And over the years, they grew to such a big, giant organization that basically we essentially can't live without today.
Exactly.
So, apply that startup mentality is very important. So as you're a small and medium-sized business owner, you are a startup, right? Yeah. But don't lose that startup mentality just because you have started to sell stuff or you want to sell something really quick and you're like, until I build a platform, I can't do much. Yeah. Pick a platform which is already existing, launch it, get the customers first. Once you have the customers, then rest of it is much easier to do, relatively easy.
That's well said. Once again, I think you are demonstrating your ability to sort of do things incrementally rather than in one big shot. And I think, as you said, that is how successful startups, that is how successful organizations conduct their business. So that's a very good piece of advice. Now, moving on. So, you've been in various sectors. Obviously, you've been in consumer sectors, B2B, B2C. And now you're working in a totally different sectors, which is automotive, tires. Going from Post-it notes and binders to tires. What was that experience like? What are the insights you gained by switching industries at a drastic level like that?
Wonderful question, Manoj. So one thing I always tell people that if you're looking for an opportunity, look for 3 things in that opportunity. One, it gives you it has a growth potential for you. You learn something brand new, right? And it is going to get you out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. If those 3 things match, you should take that opportunity, even if it lasts for a month. Mm-hmm. And I tell everyone that because you are taking a calculated risk in the sense, when I say calculated, in the sense that you will learn something new no matter what, and learning should never stop. So for me, that was basically what enticed me. And I'm a car enthusiast. I love cars, right? So for me, you can imagine myself, I may be running through tires almost every 9 to 10 months before pandemic, right? Yeah. Now with pandemic, that's a different story. But before pandemic, it was like that, literally. So to me, it was an added on benefit that, what, tires would be basically relatively inexpensive for me. Right? And I love cars, right? So for me, not only it was that I've been in the office supply and the B2B side of the business for quite some time in the retail side, So for me, it was basically an opportunity to learn a new side of the business, to learn a new side of the products, how they work and how they interact with the customers, and how that customer side works on the direct to consumer or business to consumer side. And then on the B2B side, there's a huge market on the B2B side where tires are being shipped from one place to another, installer or another, automotive service provider, right? I mean, as an example, we provide tires to pretty much everybody across the US, right? We as a B2B tire provider. So to me, it was learning this new experience and be able to leverage technology and digital experiences to enhance the overall customer journey and driving value for the business as well as our customers. So that's what enticed me and got me into it. And it definitely, all those three things that I spoke about earlier, it fit the bill right there. And I was like, let's take this. Why not? And it's been an awesome journey so far. Team has been phenomenal, and I'm blessed that we are doing some crazy and amazing stuff, and look forward to continue driving that.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, those are really good points. Especially the one, the last third point that you said, which is it should get you outside of your comfort zone, because growth happens outside of your comfort zone. If you stay comfortable, I don't think you'll experience much growth, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. Absolutely.
And so, what do you see in terms of the automotive sector? Because even the automotive sector is going through a huge change right now. As you said, we haven't been driving a lot. I mean, those of us who have been working from home, even industries like airlines have been affected. Electric cars are taking over, or automated driving is becoming mainstream. So being a car lover and being from that industry, what are the long-term trends you're seeing in this industry?
Yeah, there are quite a few. I think one is many folks may say that EVs are probably short-lived. I am a strong disbeliever of that statement. EVs are going to be the future. And in fact, GM just made a mandate that by 2035, they won't even have an ICE vehicle, actually. So no more ICEs. You can imagine like a company like GM making such a bold statement. Whether they get to it or not, that's a different story. But it's a huge initiative that they're moving towards, right? And I'm sure they will be driving towards that. So that is going to be the future. There's no doubting that. Human mindset is going to move towards that. So that's one in the automotive space. So then secondly, that comes into play is, self-driving vehicles, right? Self-driven vehicles. And this is going to become the norm. Nowadays, there are still many mandates where, yes, your car can drive itself, but you still have to put your hand on the steering wheel or on the bottom of the steering wheel and so on and so forth. But with the utilization of more and more cars coming on the roads with these kind of technologies, the self-driven vehicles are going to be the norm. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be that far off where people will be like, I will tell you, if I'm going to work or anywhere else, and if I can sit back in the car and I can do my work, great. Yes, that's a different story. If I'm on a racetrack, that's a total different ballgame. Yeah. But that is going to be the norm. People will do that. So AI is going to become mainstream in that space. It's already, if there's one industry where AI is doing great in the commercial side, is this space, in the automotive space. The only other industry I say is defense, where AI is totally taking over many things. But automotive space, AI is taking many opportunities, making many more opportunities possible. And self-driven vehicles is one of the things that they have done. Tesla and all these other vehicles, even GM with the Cadillac, new Cadillac Escalade that they are launching, it has a lot of self-driven capabilities, right? So that will continue to stay, and that's where the technology is going to basically start merging the pieces, where these vehicles can communicate to each other. Yeah. And so the concerns about, a vehicle may hit something, a vehicle may do something, a vehicle may inadvertently not see something that's in front of it, because of the vehicles can communicate to each other, are going to subside, right? And so that vehicle-to-vehicle communication is going to be key. The automotive companies, I foresee in the future, there will be many automotive companies are already partnering together, by the way. I mean, it's not out of the norm. I mean, Apple is partnering with Kia right now to look into what they could be building. BMW, I know, has partnered in the past with Tesla and others, right? So it's not going to be that people are not going to partner. More and more partnerships are going to happen, and the data usage, the usage of data across these manufacturers is going to be becoming just the norm. Everyone is going to be like, share my data. It's going to be a platform where people will be sharing their data, because if I know from your data, I can help my vehicles be driven better by the autopilot or by this machine that is driving the vehicle. So the exposition and sharing of this data and knowledge will become key of where we take this automotive space in the future. And the companies who in the automotive space who will own a lot of data are going to be able to actually take the market share away, because that will become basically at that point your way of monetizing your approaches and solutions. And then in the aftermarket service industry space, I think it's too early to predict what happens to that, because with battery and electric vehicles, maintenance is basically very limited. You're looking at tires, right? So yes, we being in the tire business, tires will continue until a new set of tire technology comes.
How about flying cars? Maybe flying cars will need tires too, I think.
Correct, exactly. So until that time, so I still say for the next 10 years, probably tires are okay. I know Michelin and I know Goodyear and Continental are investing in technologies where they have longer lasting tires with less less prone to flats or less prone to hazards on the road. So they're working on those technologies, but it's going to take time, because you have to ensure the ride smoothness as well. So unless the tires can ensure the ride smoothness, people are not going to go for those. So it will take, let's say, maybe 10 years, but maybe that not that far. But the first two pieces that I mentioned in the automotive space are going to change how people basically drive. And I foresee that our kids, when they grow or when they are in their 20s, they'll probably be like, I don't want to even drive. I just want to use a vehicle that can drive me from one place to the other. I don't care. And that will become the norm, actually. That will be basically how people will travel. And, trains, fast, high-speed rails and all that, that's going to even further exacerbate the adoption of, I don't want to be in this driving mode. So that's what I see in the auto.
That's great. I mean, and as a father of two young boys, I think that gives me some comfort that I'm driving the car. So that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. On that high note, let's end this conversation. But before I let you go, can you tell us how people can reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
Sure, absolutely, Manoj. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just search for me. Anytime you need an advice, anytime you need any thoughts that you would like to talk about or share with me or brainstorm an idea, I'll be more than happy to. As leaders, the one thing that we can provide to our communities around us and individuals who are trying to grow in their professional careers is advice and give them thought processes or guide them. Those are the two things we can provide from a time perspective. And if we cannot do that, then we are not doing a job as a leader. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me through LinkedIn very easily. I have a blog as well, but I don't get an opportunity to keep that blog up to date very often. So I would say reach out to me over LinkedIn and connect with me, or send me an email or in-mail through LinkedIn, and I'll be more than happy to advise you or even get on a phone call with you and discuss whatever you would like to discuss with me.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I'll add the link to your profile in the show notes.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.